welcome back. Today is what? Did you get excited? Did you get so excited? Mr. Arya is awake for today's video. I have not posted in probably like 2 weeks just because after the last video I talked about like my eye being swollen and everything, some more stuff happened. So I literally was covered in bumps all on my arms, my neck, my chest, down in my belly area. It's just always something, but it's getting a little bit better finally. But I just wanted to do a quick update on what has been going on. So last week Friday we were in the car, and when Mr. Arya is in the car and he is awake, he is either crying or screaming. There's no in between. So most of the time he likes to sleep in the car, which is perfectly fine. But Friday we were out and he was not happy, so we pulled over, took him out, fed him, played a little bit, and put him back in his car seat. Kept driving down the street. Mr. Arya liked to scream again, so he was screaming like you would think somebody was trying to beat him up. Like he was like couldn't catch his breath type of scream. And so we pulled over again. Racine took him out and he like rocked his car seat back and forth a little bit, but then we took him out because I'm like, okay, he's not calming down. So took him out, tried to feed him, and he was not like really opening his mouth like to try to eat or anything. And then he kind of like went limp, so he's like chilling right now, but his body just kind of like went over like that. And he was still breathing, mind you, all this time he's still breathing. His eyes got really low and then they start darting back and forth, rolling, and he was just not okay. And I'm like freaking out because I'm like, he's not okay, we need to get somewhere. Thank God we were right down the road from the hospital, like probably like 2 lights away from the ER. So we hurried up, got him in there, and as soon as like we got into the triage room, it probably took us like, this whole ordeal was probably about 10 minutes. By the time we got into triage, he was just like this, laughing at the nurses, playing or whatever. And I'm just like, what the heck just happened? Like, I honestly thought when I was holding him in the car and he like went limp the way he did, like I really thought like he was about to take his last breath. Like, I know that sounds extreme, but I was scared out of my mind. Like, so many thoughts went through my head at that time. Like, I'm like crying, freaking out, lights not changing from red to green. I'm like, we about to have to swerve around somebody, run this light. We got him to ER. They did some testing and they're like, okay, well, since this whole ordeal went on for about 10 minutes, we need to transfer you guys to another hospital that could take care of him properly. Hello, man. So Mr. Arya had to get on a stretcher. We had to get an ambulance and go all the way to the other hospital in Tampa. And we were there from Friday to Sunday. My poor little guy, he was just getting bothered every 2 seconds. Like, it was either somebody coming in to just check on him, somebody coming in to take blood, somebody coming in to just talk, and it was just not a good experience. Thank the Lord, everything was perfectly fine with my little guy, but the whole time we were there, it was just not it. Like, we had to leave Seoul with his grandma and my sister. Yo. We had to leave Seoul, so that was one thing that was just like really hard, leaving him. We have not left him since we had Arya, like with anybody else. So we had to do all kind of blood work. We pretty much were trying to check and make sure he wasn't having a seizure, because it was just a weird thing that happened and he was just doing kind of weird stuff. And his grandfather, he actually has a history of seizures, and we were just trying to, you know, rule that out. So we ended up having to on Saturday morning, he had to get hooked up to an EKG machine. He had to have all these different wires and stuff hooked up to his head, which was connected to a machine that pretty much recorded any brain activity. And they had a camera that we had to follow us around the room just to see if, you know, it was a seizure. They could catch it on camera and catch it through the brain activity and see like what caused it and all of that stuff. He had to have that on for about 24 hours. So they had to do an EKG as well. He had all kind of stuff done. Long story short, we got all of the test results. Everything was perfectly fine. The doctors pretty much like told us, since it was kind of like nobody really knows what happened, but we're kind of like chalking it up to I'm gonna say chopping it up to hey man, don't get mad, mommy's almost done talking about you. He's gonna scream, oh no. 1, 2, 3, wow. We pretty much chopped it up to the way he was screaming in the car. We think he pretty much like knocked the wind out of himself and pretty much caused himself to pass out and cause what happened in that short little time. And he could have also had reflux, which could have made him get choked up a little bit and made himself pass out from all the crying. It's kind of, they call it an unresolved event, something like that. Unexplained resolved event, I think that's what it's called. This little guy is perfectly fine. He was perfectly fine in the hospital after that event happened, but it was just trying to figure out, make sure it wasn't a seizure, trying to make sure it didn't happen again, and it hasn't happened again. But hospital visits with babies or kids or anyone, honestly, is very frustrating and hard, because you're trying to figure out what the heck happened, and then every time you try to go to sleep, nurses coming in to check on you. Everybody was really nice the entire time, not knocking the nurses, doctors, or people for having to do their job, but it was really hard, especially as a breastfeeding mom. They have all kind of safety precautions in place to where you cannot co-sleep, because if people don't co-sleep properly, things could happen. Ari and I co-sleep at home, so you know, in the middle of the night when he wakes up wanting to eat, I just gotta roll over and he can eat. But at the hospital, if he's in the crib by himself and I'm in the other bed, he had to wake up fully for me to pick him up and feed him and then fall back to sleep, which meant I couldn't sleep because he couldn't sleep. So I did not get any sleep really when we were there, besides when my mom came or when we were seeing what's holding Soul. We were able to get some time where the doctors weren't coming in. Little guy is perfectly fine. Yay! So I'm okay. I just wanted to update you guys and let you guys know what was going on. Long story short, well, the moral of this story is, your baby screaming like that, pull over and make sure he ain't about to pass out, because this little guy, he likes to scream like no other. Soul, this boy took a pacifier, he was chill, he cried like a normal baby would cry, but this little guy, he's either happy or screaming. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm gonna get this little guy to sleep.